Oh, okay.
Get on sofa.
If you see her kid stretch out and get a little Afghan and
Find a blankie.
find a little blankie. All right, so let's pull out our questions for chapter 19 and go through that. Randy, you want to start for us?
What does Saul want his servants and his son Jonathan to do? Kill David.
All right. Wants them to kill David. Number 2.
How does Jonathan respond to this request? He warns him to stay in a secret place and hide, and he would take his father to a field where David would be and talk to his father about David so that David could hear what he was saying.
Okay, very good. And so he's telling David what? Lay low. Let's be safe here.
Let's go snipe hunting.
Snipe hunting.
Well, unless you know about sniping. Yeah, it was pulled on me, so it made a lasting impression.
All right, number 3.
What are the main points of the argument that Jonathan uses when he speaks to Saul about David? Number 1, do not let the king sin against his servant David, since he has not sinned against you. Number 2, David's deeds have been very beneficial to Saul. 3, David was willing to risk his life to serve Saul, and the Lord blessed his endeavors, which had pleased Saul in the past. And 4, to kill David would be murder, since David was innocent and there was no cause for the execution.
Very good. Perfect. Sounds like a good argument. And so how does Saul respond to that?
Saul heeded the words of Jonathan, and Saul swore, as the Lord lives, he shall not be killed. David shall not be killed.
Okay, so it was quite persuasive, that argument, wasn't it? And Saul said, and he vows by the Lord. Now, don't miss the importance of that. He vows by the Lord. As the Lord lives, David will not be killed. All right, number 5.
The Lord sends a distressing spirit to Saul, and he falls into his psychotic state. What does he try and do again? He tries to kill David by pinning him to the wall.
Yeah. Poor David. I just have this vision of him going, again? Again? You're going to do that?
I missed again.
Yeah, so I had Saul's going, I need practice. I need some practice here.
The thing, too, that we never want to forget as we're reading all of this is that David, from the beginning, knew that God had his back. Yeah. And had a lot, he was strong in his faith to God, and so he always knew. He ran to battle. He eagerly wanted, so I myself have to remind myself of that the faith that David had.
Yeah. Yeah.
He knew God was there.
And he keeps coming back over and over again, even though these attempts on his life were made, and trying to handle the situation. Number 6. Debbie. Oh, you weren't here. Lori?
Why do you suppose Saul would get so angry when David would go out to battle? I think part of it was jealousy.
Yes.
Sorry,
Turkey.
I could see something flopping around out
Probably
there.
a turkey.
It was a squirrel,
Oh.
yeah. And David was always successful in battle, and the people admired him and sang songs about how wonderful David was and how much less Saul did. And
So David was getting too much attention,
Yeah.
wasn't he? And Saul is not willing to do that. It's kind of the difference between a good leader and a bad leader, right? A good leader lifts up the people that are under him because everything they do makes him look good.
Yeah.
And so a good leader recognizes that and lifts up his workers. A poor leader is going to oppress anyone around him for fear that they're going to be better than him. And so obviously Saul fell into that poor leader category at this point in his life.
Do you think that the people were, I know we're seeing it as we study this, but the people were seeing how Saul was losing it mentally too. Did they see that, or
Well, Scripture doesn't say that they saw it. The only ones who you would know for sure saw it were those working in the palace with him in an intimate contact. His personal servants, those who saw him. Now we know for sure that they saw it because they earlier on had said, "Let us go get someone," and they would have been there when David would have been brought in. The people, my guess would be no. My guess would be that would be kept from them. Although, remember earlier an incident where he was going to come after Jonathan, and they all stood up and said, "Not a hair on his head is going to be hurt, Saul." So they did know that there was some problems going on.
It might have divided the people too. when
Could
they
have
were
been.
talking.
Could have been. It could have been. There could have been some real division going on there. All right, number 7.
Okay, do you recall last week when we were talking about this particular chapter and I knew nothing after that because I fell asleep?
Oh, okay. So you need to pass. Just say pass.
Please.
That's okay. Randy.
7. Now Saul makes another attempt on David's life by sending messengers to his house, who saves him this time his wife Michal,
Who happens to be,
Saul's daughter.
there you go, Saul's daughter. All right, number 8.
And what is the creative trick that she uses to fool those who seek to take him or take his life? She took an image and laid it in a bed and put goat hair on its head and covered it up with clothes.
There you go. So she was making it look like what?
He was in bed.
He was sick in bed, right? Yeah.
Sick in bed. That's
Yep,
right.
absolutely. So number 9.
Saul is furious with his daughter for fooling him. David has escaped through the window and gone to see who? To Samuel at Ramah.
There you go. All right, so he knows exactly the right place to go. Number 10, Sherry.
The Lord intervenes in a supernatural way with both the messengers and Saul. What does he cause them to do? And it says, and Saul sent messengers again a third time. And Saul also went to Ramah. And the Spirit of God was upon Saul also. He stripped off his clothes, prophesied before Samuel,
Okay. Yes.
lay down naked all that day and all that night. Therefore they say, is Saul among the prophets? And it gives, that's the next one, sorry.
Okay. So he
11.
in a supernatural way he causes the messengers to go into a prophetic state and they begin to prophesy, and then Saul comes and the same thing happens to Saul, only just as you described, far more extensively it appears, where he stripped himself naked and began to prophesy day and night in front of Samuel. We don't know exactly what that looked like.
We'd rather not
We
know.
don't know what it looked like, and we don't know what it sounded like, but however we do know that it probably was not good prophetic word that it was coming, but this was something that the Lord was using to humble Saul and to show him, you are not in charge, you are not in control. And so talking about who knew what, I have to believe that there were an awful lot of people standing
I saw
around in
that.
Ramah who
Right.
saw Saul in that humbling position where he is doing that. And so things are going to begin. And of course, just like today, we have phones and email, but the word would get out that this was going on. And so Saul's reputation is just falling
And as you were saying
rapidly.
last week too on that was part of God's plan.
Yes, because of number 11. So number 11,
What was
This
that?
gives David enough time to escape,
yes.
and he will now wander for the next, is it 10 years?
That's right. That's right. So by doing this, God provides a way for David to leave that area that he's in, to have plenty of time to leave because Saul's kind of busy and doesn't have any clothes on. So he's busy doing what he's doing, and so David has enough time to leave. And this is going to set into motion. Okay, so 1 Samuel has 27 chapters. We're going to start 20 today, and we're going to see throughout these next 7 chapters, David is going to be a wanderer. God is going to be taking him on a journey of preparation for David. He's going to be learning some very humbling lessons. He's going to be learning some very difficult lessons. We're going to see David. You remember how he is this man of God, where he writes these beautiful psalms and these amazing things that happen. But David also is going to fail in some mighty ways. He's going to do some things that he will later on in 2 Samuel look back on and say, what was I thinking? Why did I do this? And so we're going to see God use the good and the bad to grow David now, so that he's going to leave behind this shepherd boy who is sitting under the thumb of Saul and under the protection of Jonathan. And now he's going to go out, and he is going to have no one but the Lord to lean upon. The Lord is going to be his teacher, the Lord is going to be his provider, and the Lord is going to be the one who is now going to take David and mold him and shape him into the man who will one day become the greatest king that Israel will ever have.
Well, on that last one, on number 11, I put something different, but I got it from, you had attached Psalms 59 to our lesson, and I put, this gives David enough time to be delivered by God from his enemies.
Which is
and
exactly
I got that
true.
from the Psalms 59.
It's the same thing. He was delivered by fleeing. He was delivered from his enemies, and that's right. That's good, right? Exactly.
I love that Psalms 59.
It's really fun to it's really fun to tie in the Psalms. If I wanted to take us even another step deeper, you could go into Chronicles and see that a lot of these stories are repeated and retold in Chronicles with a little bit of different, and periodically I'll do that. I'll print out a chapter in Chronicles that correlates with the chapter that we're in, and know that these are stories that are told and retold and that weave into the whole structure and a pattern of Israel. These are very important. And so Kings will have some stuff, and Chronicles will have some stuff, and Psalms is full of the same stories, and it's well known and well woven and used in different ways. So we'll try and pull in some of the Psalms, some of the Chronicles, and weave that all together in a harmony. Okay, so very good. Let's go to chapter 20.